Good morning, everybody. Wow, it's a very friendly crowd. Thank you. Welcome to CIBC Square. For people who don't know me, my name is Greg Bonham. I'm the head of CIBC Entertainment Banking. It's a real pleasure to host everybody here this morning. We're very happy to open the door to the creative industry here to have meaningful discussions about the status of the industry. And it's all about conversation today. It's all about hearing from you guys, as well as hearing from some of the associations that cares very deeply about the sectors that is so important for Canada and beyond. First, I would like to take a moment to recognize the three associations that are co-hosting the event today, which is VES, CASOI, and TAAFI. Those organizations play a critical role across the industry, advocating for the sector, helping this community stay connected and informed. So before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the people behind that work. So if you are part of the leadership, the staff, or you are involved as a volunteer that help VES, CASOI, and TAAFI, can I have you to please stand for a moment so we can recognize you? So there you go. Really thank you for all the work that you are doing for the industry. And with that, I just want to turn back to the program. I just wanted to say welcome again at CIBC Square. Now we're going to have more meaningful people talking about very interesting things. So next, you're next, SMR? Yeah, all right, there you go. Have a good morning.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. My name is Samara Melanson, and I'm the co-chair of CASOI, also known as the Computer Animation Studios of Ontario. Welcome to the second collaborative animation and VFX town hall presented by CASOI. TAAFI, also known as Toronto Animation Arts Festival International, and the Toronto section of the Visual Effects Society with support from Ontario Creates. On behalf of our organizers and attendees, we say thank you to our incredibly generous host, Greg Bonham, and his amazing team from CIBC Banking. Please give them all a round of applause. Our agenda covers three areas this morning. First, you will hear updates from industry organizations. There we go. From industry organizations, starting with my report on CASOI initiatives, followed by representatives from TAAFI, the Visual Effects Society, and Ontario Creates. Give me 1 second here, my slide's stuck. Okay. We are all working together and separately to advance the animation and visual effects industry in this province. You will hear stories from studios and individuals on how they are adapting in our industry's changing times. Once our storytelling concludes, we'll take a short break. After the break, you will be asked to share your thoughts at your table or in a virtual breakout room on our questions that affect our industry. Responses to the questions and any additional comments will be compiled and shared at a later date, either online or in person, ideally around the time of the TAAFI Festival in April. Okay, and now on to our updates. On the advocacy front, we are spending dedicated time working with the provincial government on ways to improve our competitive edge for Ontario studios. When our studios get more work, everyone benefits. In CASO's 2026 pre-budget submission, which is our formal request to the government, CASO asked the government to approve a merit-based advance payment program. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, I just got up. Can you come up here for a second? My slides are stuck.
So your slides locally?
Yeah, how do you make that a little smaller?
Here, let's do this.
I tried that.
No. Okay. Bear with us for a sec. Let's do this. Oh yeah. Troubleshoot on the fly. Nope, it's this one. You're gonna have to scroll. If you put your mouse in there, you can scroll.
Okay, all right. CASO asked the government to approve a merit-based advance payment program. If implemented, the program would pay our studios their tax credits sooner than the lengthy waiting period currently in place. This improved cash flow would help our studios weather the current production downturn and enable us to invest in our studios and our people. In addition, the rise in global tax credit competition prompted CASO to review OCASE. This is the tax credit specifically for animation and VFX work in Ontario. After a lengthy discussion and debate by our membership, CASO Studios agreed that amending OCASE to be producer claimable will help draw more production to Ontario. This too is in CASO's pre-budget submission. On the federal level, CASO has sent a policy framework to Mark Miller's office. He is Canada's Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. In that framework, we are asking the federal government to invest in our future. The document recommends investment in business transition, Canadian IP, technological advancement, and administrative streamlining. We are hopeful this document will advance discussions at the federal level to help our industry. Now, on to marketing initiatives. CASO is achieving remarkable growth in our professional development initiatives. After a year of collaboration, CASO, the VES Toronto, and key college educators delivered the minimum skills document to the provincial government. The team is continuing to work together to seek implementation pathways, all with the goal of better outcomes for graduating students and hiring studios. In addition, CASO works with many associations and stakeholders in Ontario, building awareness of animation and VFX as a career choice. We support programs that impact high school students by partnering with EXO-TO schools, Northview's animation program, and the Ontario Career Lab, as well as Pinewood Futures Festival. We have built and are delivering new career education opportunities for current professionals, certifying over 50 new students in production management through the Creative School Pro at TMU, and are soon to deliver a boot camp to gauge interest in VFX supervisor training. This fiscal, we are bringing a new focus to marketing. We collaborate with industry partners to network and learn from each other at events like today's Animation and VFX Town Hall. CASO has a presence each year at the Animation Conference, which occurs during the prestigious Ottawa International Animation Festival. This year's esteemed panel explored Canada's potential in a rapidly evolving global animation landscape. It's our impressive visuals that really do best market our industry. So we are updating our promotional reels to be shared and played abroad, highlighting the incredible work that Ontario studios can deliver. A refreshed website is also on the menu for later this year. So those seeking Ontario-based studios will have a destination to find what they're looking for. And finally, we participate in all initiatives that showcase our people and our studios. Trade missions and events can bring us closer to production prospects who can bring work to Ontario studios. That is our very brief update. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact us through our website, or you can email us directly through our general manager. Thank you for your attention. And now let's hear from our valued partner at TAAFI. Here's Karen Jackson.
I'm a little shorter, sorry. Hi, everyone. 2 years ago, the industry felt like it was imploding. Tens of thousands of animation, visual effects, and gaming workers were suddenly without jobs. We were all, as a community, severely affected by the economic downturn, and we couldn't find, oh, sorry, am I supposed to press a button? Haha. Severely affected by the economic downturn, and we couldn't find any jobs. And because we're an industry where jobs are at the very image of who we are as people, we felt ashamed. We felt our family's disappointment. We felt hopeless. And just when things seemed to be getting worse, we at TAAFI made a decision not to just run a festival, but to take responsibility for helping move the animation industry forward. Because the truth is, animation in Canada is extraordinary. We have world-class artists, world-class studios, and world-class stories. But too often, the people creating that work don't get the visibility, the access, or the business support that they need. And that's where TAAFI decided to step in. Over the past year, we've made some really bold choices. First, we brought the festival back together into a single unified event. Instead of spreading the experience across multiple smaller activations, we focused on creating one concentrated moment where the entire animation community could come together. Artists, studios, students, creators, and industry leaders all in the same space. Because great industries aren't built in isolation. They're built through collaboration, conversation, and shared momentum. At the same time, we doubled down on something that mattered deeply to us, celebrating Canadian animation. Canada produces some of the most respected animation in the world, yet our artists are often better known internationally than they are at home. TAAFI is working to change that. This year, we've elevated local studios, local creators, and local talent across our programming, making sure the incredible work happening here is visible, celebrated, and connected to global opportunities. But visibility alone isn't enough. Artists also need access to opportunity. That's why this past year, we piloted something brand new, the Perfect Pitch Development Program. The program gives creators something often missing in our industry, the chance to learn how to develop, refine, and pitch their ideas in a professional environment, guided by experienced mentors and industry leaders. Building on that momentum, we've now launched something even bigger. We are in the middle of our pilot of the Canadian Animation Business Accelerator. This initiative is designed to help creators move beyond simply making great work and into building sustainable animation businesses, studios, and intellectual property. Canada shouldn't just be a place where animation is produced. It should be a place where animation companies are built, creators own their stories, where studios grow, and where new voices are able to break through. That's the future TAAFI is working towards. And the most exciting part is that we're just getting started. In 4 weeks at TAAFI 2026, the animation world will gather once again. It will be a celebration of creativity, community, and innovation, bringing together artists, studios, students, and industry leaders from across Canada and the world. We have more panels, more films, more workshops, more networking opportunities than ever before, and at the forefront, celebrating Canadian workers behind this work. And if the past year is any indication, the momentum we're building together is only going to grow. Because animation isn't just an art form, it's a community. And when community comes together, as we've brought you all here today, incredible things can happen. Thank you. I also have to bring up Amanda Hebner from CASO as well. Not CASO, sorry, VES Toronto. Apologies.
My name is Amanda Hebner, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Toronto section of the Visual Effects Society. As much has shifted in the entertainment space in the last few years, I want to take the next few minutes to talk about what the VES is doing on both a global level and a section level in way of response and bettering education, opportunities, and networking for our community. So to start, what is the VES? So our official mission statement is to advance and promote visual effects and empower our global honorary society membership through professional education, enriching benefits, fostering community, and industry recognition. Additionally, the Society defines its core vision as being a preeminent honorary global organization where the membership in the visual effects industry are recognized and respected worldwide. Our mission is centered on supporting the professional community rather than political advocacy or collective bargaining. We're a nonprofit driven by the dedication of volunteers, peers who contribute their personal time to help the industry grow. Our board is made up of those who want to give back, create better opportunities for others, and make our work recognized on a larger scale. Volunteers who prominently are already wearing multiple hats in their work and going the extra mile in any spare moment they can find to dedicate to this community. So how are we doing that? Well, let's start with global. On a global level, the VES has several tools, guides, and subcommittees dedicated to providing resources at your disposal. Education and upskilling. We have education resources open to the public, which has lots of links to careers and training. This has access to everything you need, from diversity resources to a mentorship program to studio affiliates and learning materials. It's a great place to start on the VES website if you don't know where to begin. There's a VES Vimeo channel, which is an ongoing channel with many content creators contributing regularly to making more education available and staying up to date with the latest technology and insights. It's also open to the public, tons of training, panels, discussions, and more. We have our Mega Brain series, which is open to the public, which is currently led by Aegon Ushaku in the German section, but is streamed for all sections worldwide. This year's Mega Brain features an all-female lineup of educators and takes place on April 25th. Careers and Opportunity, the job board, where you can find all different links to different job boards and a lot of useful guides and tips for job finding. We have a Career Opportunity Guide, which is our education and outreach subcommittee who created this last year and is available to the public. This acts as solid advice for advancing your existing career, tips on how you can apply your existing skills in careers you might not have thought of, and how to approach making career changes. This was edited by VES Toronto Chair Lawrence Sumet and contributed to by many, including VES Toronto's Kate Zagararis. We have our VES AMAs, aka Ask Me Anything, discussions on leadership and career development and visual effects, also open to the public. Or you can reach out directly to jobsboard@vesglobal.org and ask them for specific ways that you need support in your career. As we say in visual effects, there are no dumb questions. Mentorship and personal growth. VES member-to-member mentorship program is one of the few areas that is reserved for members only. We have Reignite Yourself, which are discussions on career development, personal growth, well-being, and leaderships, which are open to the public. We have our Members Assistance Program. This is an initiative providing resources to better assist the VFX community in maintaining or improving health and mental well-being. Similar to an employee assistance program, which includes perks and discounts, this is an ever-evolving section of the VES website and frequently has updating information and resources available, so it's worth checking back in on often. Health insurance is now also available, not just for US members, but Canadian members, including BC and Ontario, something I will talk about in a moment. In 2026, the Global Board of Directors is also happy to announce that we now have sections in Spain and Japan. While there are many more aspects of the global VES that I have not detailed, please know that there are many more initiatives happening behind this seen and unseen at the global level that have a strong backing of passionate leaders spearheading them. Some of the more notable ones are the awards show, which is run by one of our most dedicated committees globally, and the Developing Women's Committee, which is set to launch in the later half of 2026. I aim to keep my time short, but if people have questions in this area, please come find me in the networking portion of today's day. Toronto section. As one of the largest and most dedicated sections of the VES, Toronto leads in the way of partnering and sponsorship, collaboration, and expanding its reach, and maintaining consistency with its value to members. One of our board's biggest mandates is to bring bigger awareness to visual effects and post-production artistry in the film and entertainment industries in Toronto, as well as provide real tools and insights to our community, even if you're not a member, where possible. Each year we moved closer to this goal. Here are some of the ways that Toronto is doing that. Insurance. Last year, Colleen Jenkinson spearheaded the insurance initiative extending Canadian medical and dental plans to Ontario. Now, anyone working in VFX and adjacent industries across BC and Ontario can support themselves better in freelance positions, self-starting, or otherwise self-employed endeavors. This is especially key for our immediate future and will be pivotal in 2026 as we head into a year filled with mostly short-term, freelance, or temporary contract work as the industry starts to rebuild itself. You do need to be a member to take advantage. Schools and outreach. Education is a huge part of what we do in visual effects. We have recently started working with XOTO schools to act as a facilitator for more connections between studios and high school students through tours, workshops, and discussions, highlighting potential career opportunities. If you want to present to schools or collaborate in this area, be it that you are a studio or an individual who would like to teach, please reach out and talk to us. In the same vein, VES is an active participant in Pinewood's Futures Festival, spotlighting VFX as a career pathway. Several of our board members are also educators and actively engaged in building better bridges to opportunities for our graduates. This often looks like getting students their first foot in the door with volunteer opportunities at one of our VES events, facilitating studio tours, or keeping an open door to the public for certain panels or discussions where possible, and paving the way to their first connections and networking. In supporting our current members, as of this year, we're also currently working on new ways to support educators specifically, with some promising endeavors on the way. These are newly in the works, so more details will follow over the course of the year. One of the most common asks of the VES is upskilling opportunities. So in 2026, we're working on training programs to address critical gaps in areas like new technology, leadership, business, and core art skills. This year in particular is set to feature more workshops than ever. Last year, we made efforts to branch our education sector towards adjacent industries, fields that hold career opportunities and similar skill sets. In 2026, we hope to see fruits of that labor come to fruition with more opportunity and career guidance towards new pathways for those who may be curious about transitioning in their career. As the global market is growing in film, Toronto is right at the forefront. We have active partnerships with WIFT, Ontario Creates, and CASOI to deliver collaborative value to the community. An example of this is that we are assisting multiple groups in helping to promote updated educational standards for our industries and to represent our members in that conversation. We are also looking to partner with new organizations to help promote the work we do in Toronto on the global stage. Looking ahead to 2026, we're excited to announce our new board of 12 members, all passionate and excited to bring some new energy to our community. As of a few weeks now, we are a 50-50 split men and female team, and every member of this board brings their own personal area of passion and responsibility. While it may sometimes seem like all is calm, we are constantly working in the background, behind the scenes, on pushing the envelope and bringing more awareness of visual effects and spaces for success to our members. We are always keen to talk to anyone who has ideas for the VES or wants to know how they can collaborate and contribute. Please email toronto@vesglobal.org. Thank you. Just left a couple of QR codes up there if anyone was interested. Just a few. And last but not least, I'll pass the mic to Justin Cutler with Ontario Creates.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Cutler. I'm the Film Commissioner of Ontario at Ontario Creates, and I'm so happy to be here today. I'd like to send my thanks to CIBC for being such generous partners in hosting this event, and then also my gratitude to CASOI, TAAFI, and VES Toronto for organizing the event. We're proud to be supporting this town hall. It's also a privilege for me to be able to present all of the great work that Ontario Creates is doing. I'm joined here by my colleagues who are actually doing a lot of that work, including Erin Creasy, our Director of Industry Development. Maybe you can wave as we go because it'd be great to connect with these people after. Jennifer Blitz, our Director of Tax Credits. And Erica Proudlock, who's one of our production consultants in the Film Commission, who's actively working on promoting the sector. Together, we want to express really that we value, the province values, the jobs and the economic value that you bring to the province, but also the cultural value. And so today, my goal is to talk about how we're supporting the sector and investing in all of your work. And that starts with tax credits, which are really the main driver for delivering investment to the province. And as you know, and as Samara mentioned, OCASE remains a foundational part of our competitiveness as a jurisdiction. We offer an 18% refundable tax credit for labor and animation and visual effects activities that are performed here. A major improvement to OCASE over the last year is the removal of the tethering requirement. So productions no longer have to wait for OFTTC or the OPSDC certification before moving forward with their submission. This is a big move for us. It helps move the tax credits through the system faster and for that investment to get back into the pockets of producers and vendors at a quicker rate. We've also streamlined the eligibility criteria based on a minimum of $25,000 in animation and VFX labor costs per production per year. The tax credit continues to be stackable with OFTTC and our OPSDC tax credit. And most importantly, there's no cap to the program, either on a per production basis or annually, which is very helpful for producers and vendors for long-term planning and investing in the province. Going further, in 24-25, we issued 146 OCASE certificates through our tax credit team, supporting animation and visual effects work on 328 productions. That resulted in an estimated $60 million in tax credit value being returned to the sector. And perhaps most impressively, thanks to process improvements, we're now picking up complete OCASE files in as little as 6 weeks. I think that deserves a round of applause. That new service standard is really helping. And it's really the result of Jennifer and her team's hard work, but also a firm commitment from the province to provide the workforce and the process improvements to be able to advance that. It's also important because it reduced the cost of borrowing and makes us a more attractive jurisdiction. Beyond tax credits, we continue to invest directly in Ontario-owned content and companies. Our new IP fund supports development and production financing for feature films, including animation, as well as digital series, video games, and XR projects. The program is open to producers, including projects where there's a majority or a minority co-production with support up to $400,000. And internationally, the work that Aaron Creasy's team is doing to support our producers is extending to animation this year in a more fulsome way, including the coordination of a delegation to MIFA in June in partnership with Telefilm Canada, the CMPA, and our provincial colleagues across the country to lay the groundwork for more co-production work and also to attract production to the province. We also encourage companies to explore our global market development program, which helps Ontario producers attend key markets. Beyond the financial supports that we offer as an agency, our major focus this year is amplifying Ontario's visibility in global markets and promoting all of your great work to attract that business to the province. We are expanding the number of inbound familiarization tours to promote our VFX and animation capabilities to US and international producers. In fact, we're working on a visual effects and post-production tour for this spring. These are great opportunities for us to bring in leading decision makers from around the world to see our studios and our ecosystem in Ontario. We've had great success with this on the physical production side, and we're going to continue that work with visual effects and post-production and animation eventually. We're refreshing all of our promotional assets, including our sizzle reels, our producer resources, and our Ontario Production Guide listings to raise awareness of the great talent and infrastructure we have to develop more inward investment opportunities. And we're also going to increase the number of touch points that we have with our colleagues in Los Angeles through our LA office. We have a dedicated LA office that works on behalf of Ontario Creates in the city of Toronto, and that person will be meeting more regularly with our visual effects and animation colleagues to promote your great work. Our team will also continue to strengthen our collaboration with CASO, VES Toronto, and TAAFI and other stakeholders to ensure that the work that we're doing reflects all of the great work that you're doing. Those people know your work the best, and really that collaboration is so helpful. And we'll be expanding our advertising footprint through that collaboration to promote Ontario companies, our talent, and our success stories across social, new newsletters, and print channels. Actually, we just introduced a newsletter that is going out to 1,500 producers globally, largely dominated by decision makers that can send that investment to the province. So that kind of brings us full circle. We know that Ontario's visual effects and animation sector is one of the most innovative, collaborative, and globally respected communities anywhere. Our team is here to support you, whether it be through financing, tax credits, business development, or international promotion. And we look forward to working with you over the year ahead. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us here at this event or after the fact. The QR code's there. This will connect you to all the work that we do. And really looking forward to the rest of the conversation today. So thanks so much for having us, and I'll throw it over to Lawrence and Amanda. Oh, excuse me, no, Samara. Over to you, thanks.
Before we continue, we would like to acknowledge the land on which we gather. Toronto is located on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Anishinaabeg and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This land is covered by Treaty 13 and the Williams Treaties, and for thousands of years, it has been a place of gathering, exchange, and storytelling. Today, Toronto remains home to a vibrant and diverse Indigenous community, including First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, all across from Turtle Island as well. As organizations dedicated to art, animation, visual storytelling, creative technology, CASO, TAAFI, and the Visual Effects Society recognize that storytelling has always been central to Indigenous cultures and traditions. We acknowledge the responsibility we share to create space for Indigenous voices, artists, and stories within our industries. We offer this acknowledgement with gratitude for the stewardship of this land and with a commitment to continue learning, listening, and supporting Indigenous creators and communities. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Let's get our slide up here. That's us. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Louviere. I am the head of studio and one of the EPs at VES.
And if this mic works, which it does, I'm Lawrence Cement. I'm the head of technology at VES.
Hi. So we've been invited here today just to talk a little bit about, the state of the industry and how the last couple of years have had an effect on studios, specifically, how our studio has reacted. Every studio is different, but I think there's a lot of commonality with, how the industry has affected everybody. So one of the biggest things I think, one of the biggest adjustments that we've had to make was just reacting to the consistency of work. So obviously, the volume of work that is out there to go across studios has been significantly reduced over the last couple of years. And as a result of that, and in addition to that, budgets have also been severely affected. So as far as, planning out from a studio perspective, planning your staff, planning, how many projects you can take on and working all that out has really, taken a hit. And it's been really difficult to try and, make those plans where, before you could look a year and a half out and, make those plans as far as your staffing, the people that you need. And it also allowed you to carry a full-time staff. Because there was a level of consistency that work. Obviously, there's some peaks and valleys, but generally, overall, there was consistent work that was there. And that has basically gone away. Especially, the last 2 years, 2026 seems to be a little bit more predictable now, but definitely for the last 2 years, the predictability was gone. And one of the things that we've had to do as a studio is look at our staffing, and rather than having people and trying to carry people, in a full-time role, we've really gone more towards freelancers, bringing in staff specifically for the duration of projects and for specific projects, which has allowed us to exist as a studio and maintain our overhead overall. And it also, I find that it also allows the artists and the staff to have some sort of idea and planning for their own lives. One of the things is that, and was devastating, at least for me, was needing to lay off a large amount of people suddenly, and it didn't really allow for people to plan for their lives. Whereas even though freelance is not, necessarily what everybody wants to be doing, it does at least give people some ability to plan their lives, to schedule their lives, to, adjust themselves according to the work as they become available and book up. So that's one of the things that has allowed us, to provide that level of stability for the artists and for the staff out there, is to basically allow people to transition into a freelance situation. One of the things that we encourage and that made a difference for us as far as the artists and the people that we are working with is anybody who has multiple sets of skills. So, generally speaking, when you're coming out of school, you usually have, put your hand in various different elements of the industry, whether it's animation or visual effects. But then once you sort of settle into a studio, you tend to really, navigate towards one particular, part of the pipeline. And one thing that we've really noticed is the people who have, who are a little bit more diverse, they might be a lighter, but they also do layout. And so having the opportunities to basically, utilize that person that we have a relationship with, that we trust, that we can kind of try and keep on a little bit longer, because we can put them in various different places as the needs of the productions arise. So that's one thing that we've really tried to kind of instill in people and to give as advice, is to basically try and sort of maintain your skill set and stay, relevant in a couple of different areas that you have, talent and interest in personally. Also, maintaining relationships with studios, we tend to, go to first the people that we have worked with in the past. And anybody who, approaches us that we have the opportunity to get to know, both at, events like this or events that, the VES is hosting or anything like that, it really helps on that front, is, to establish those personal relationships with studios so that you become their kind of go-to, you're in their Rolodex when things come up.
Amanda, would you say things have changed in terms of how the jobs are coming in and how the budgets are coming in? Like, is it relatively the same as it was, or are things different?
No, I mean, again, the predictability is not there anymore. There are very clear ebbs and flows and by very clear, I just mean that there are ebbs and flows. What those ebbs and flows are tend to fluctuate as well, as far as when productions are shooting, when they're going into post, and it's getting harder to predict where those ebbs and flows are. Again, 2026 seems to, the predictability is getting a little bit better, but definitely the last 2 years it was really difficult to do that. So this is where, as a company, having the flexibility to build up and come down with staffing has really helped, and I think that that's where it's going to be for the foreseeable future, really. Yeah.
Now, the trick is when you're faced with that kind of situation that Amanda explained, where you have to move very quickly and you can't really predict what your workload is going to be and how many artists you need, it creates a technological challenge. for studios. So I want to talk a bit about what we're doing on the pipeline side to help adapt that. So generally, you're going to hear this more and more, the term do more with less. And that's kind of the state we're in. When we have to ramp up very quickly, it's not like we can just snap our fingers and have 100 more workstations. There are situations that allow that. But so there's some things we're doing. Number one, I think, is just investing in pipeline. So bringing on engineers, focusing on things, automating things that aren't the art that the artist does is, I think, really important for every studio to really be focusing on right now. We knew it before, but now it's kind of super crucial to even function. And one of the things that's helping us do that is open source technology. So you may have heard of things like USD or OpenColor.io, OCIO, ACES. These are all open standards and open source technologies that studios can adopt that make it easier for them to implement in their pipeline. So we don't have to build something new. We can implement something that someone's already built and vetted, but it's also a common standard. It allows us to work together, to work across studios, to work, we often deal with post facilities that hand us data back and forth, for example. We can speak the same language. And this helps streamline this kind of chaotic world we're working in. A really good example of this is USD, or Universal Scene Description, which is an open standard created by Pixar, I think back in 2016. So it's pretty, it's been a decade and it's pretty mature now. And this is a technology that allows you to define a 3D scene with a common standard. And why that's really exciting is it means it's really easy to communicate data between studios, to share work. It's really easier for teams to collaborate. So different departments can collaborate more in that data. And it's also easier on the technology side. If you're using a common standard, let's say you're writing a renderer, you can just connect it to USD. And then all of a sudden, if you're using USD data, it works with that renderer. So it really smooths a lot of the friction points in the technology side. And what's really cool is it's already in all the DCCs, the applications we use. It's there in Houdini and Solaris. It's there in Maya. It's there in Nuke 16 and 17, I think. So even though it's really built for larger teams, I really encourage everybody to get familiar with it, because to Amanda's point, if you're an artist and you understand USD, you can go work at any studio that is using USD, right? You can easily kind of slot into their pipeline without having to learn a custom data format. And it's just, it's also easier for the technology side because you have a single interface to work with. So that's kind of a big thing. The cloud is another big thing. So if we're faced with a situation where we have to scale up really quickly. Like Amanda will come to me and say, hey, in a month, we're going to be triple our rendering. And then I look at the farm and I'm like, well, we're already at capacity right now. So we need a solution. And that's where for a smaller medium studio, the cloud comes in as a great option because you can really expand your capacity very quickly. And so, VFX is both private cloud and public cloud. So we have our own kind of internal cloud that allows us to flexibly adjust the workstations and systems we're using to the task. But we also can send our jobs to multiple clouds to render on a lot of machines, and then we get a bill in a month kind of thing. So, and sometimes it can be a big bill, but it's better than not delivering the job. Now, what's really cool is that same technology that powers the cloud, virtualization and containerization, can also be put to work in a tech stack for a studio. So one of the big problems that Amanda mentioned, where we have artists moving between departments, means they need different computers, they need different software, they need different specifications to do a specific task. And that becomes a problem when you have, okay, we have these computers, and these computers. So virtualization is a technology that allows you to take all your resources and kind of blob them together and then define a virtual machine using the specification that you need. And that kind of allows us to very flexibly adjust what the artist is working on. So that's kind of a handy thing to be aware of and learn about. The other area that I think is notable, a lot of people are into Unreal Engine, and real-time engines are making their way into animation and VFX. I tell all my students they should learn it. It's not perfect. Game engines aren't necessarily built for production, but they are really good at certain things. They are really good at, let's say you have a very repeatable scenario, especially in animation. You might have the same set, the same characters doing a different performance. A real-time engine is really phenomenal for that kind of scenario. Or if you're in VFX and you have this giant, like 10,000 frame shot, and you're gonna have to iterate on it a lot, having that faster render really helps. So you do spend some more time optimizing up at the front, but if you're doing a lot of repeated or extra work, that optimization pays off. Now, it's kind of hard for me not to talk about generative AI and machine learning, but I think what's really important is that people say AI, everybody hears something different. Saying AI is like saying computers. We use computers. It's such a broad space. So I try to be very specific when I'm talking about machine learning and AI and generative AI in terms of use case and workflow. And there's a couple of places we've seen that we can really help production pipelines in a very practical way. Some good examples are accelerating software development. So using AI-assisted coding has been just commonly adopted in the engineering community. It's not perfect. You need a developer. You can't just get rid of developers and ask Claude to write you your whole application. Everybody needs to know what they're doing, but it can accelerate some laborious parts of the programming side of the pipeline. And that's kind of really useful. Complex expressions, hard maths, things like that. It can help administration and producers. A lot of them spend a lot of time in spreadsheets, and you can do some very complex expressions in spreadsheets. You can ask ChatGPT to help you with that, and it really speeds things up. And a lot of what we do, everything we do when it comes to machine learning and AI, we check with our customers. We vet our customers. What is, what are they cool with? What is legal? What is going to maintain the copyright of their content? But a common case where that's approved is the use of machine learning where you're training only on the data that you're provided. So a good example of that is you have 200 shots where you're putting a scar on someone's face. So this is a highly repetitive scenario. You need to do something the same over and over again, and you're just giving input and the output is the same. That's a classic case of where machine learning really shines. And you can find that technology in applications like Houdini and Nuke, like Copycat. It's definitely a cool thing to understand and learn. And then, there's other places like doing simple matting. Rotoscoping isn't quite there yet, but I think it will get there. And then you have generative AI, where you type in something or you give it some guidance and it produces an image or video. This is kind of a more contentious space, but already, I think as of now, Netflix has approved the use of generative AI for ideation and concept work. So anything that isn't going to produce final pixel. So now, I'm not a lawyer. You should obviously talk to your lawyer and consult with Netflix before taking my advice there, but that's what I've seen. And it's a very useful tool. Let's say you need, we need to see a robot shark. We don't know what it's going to look like. Here's 200 of them. Point to the one that you like. Then we hand that to a concept artist to proceed with. So that's kind of a place where, it's really kind of settling in as a useful tool, and we'll have to see how it progresses. I think I'll leave it at that, but I think all this technology stuff, one of the things that I've seen as a technology person and an artist is that, to Amanda's point about being more generalist and wider in your capabilities to help with your employment, I include technology savviness in that. We all use computers, and so it's really important to understand how those computers work and what they can do. So I encourage everybody, even the really artist side, to kind of pay attention to these things and learn a bit about them. You'd be surprised how it can help you in your everyday. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, thank you. And who's next? Wesley. You want to use the and then press the green button there.
Oh, dude, I'm colorblind.
This, the big button is forward.
I guess I shouldn't have told people I'm colorblind, that I'm in art. I'm going to make mine short and sweet. My name is Wes. I've been asked really last minute to kind of do a presentation on how companies can pivot. I feel like first of all, every company has to pivot every single year. It's not something new. I think what's made it difficult is that everybody's been asked to pivot at the same time. And so a part of what I want to talk about is not necessarily, aside from where we're going to pivot, I want to talk about the process and how House of Cool pivots. And this is House of Cool in a nutshell. You get 6 seconds to watch what we do. And we're owned by WildBrain. Bottom there. All right, so a little bit of housekeeping before we pivot. So if you've been at House of Cool for a long time, at least over a year, we always do these strat plans. In these strat plans, we're really open with our staff. We tell them how much money we made, the good, the bad, the ugly. We also tell them, all the leads talk about like past accomplishments and goals, and then future objectives and plans. And going alongside that though, before, we always talk about our mission statement and our vision statement. I'm gonna have to turn my head, sorry. Anyways, I'm not gonna read through all the mission statements and vision statements, but the one that really stands out for me as a studio owner is, House of Cool is good to you and good for you. And then on our vision statement, it's pretty much everything that we touch needs to be as cool as fuck, essentially. Well, the slides aren't exactly the same, but these are our core values. So at every single strategy plan or every single town hall, we always go through our mission statement, our vision statement, and then our core values. And with that, peek inside of the plan. So with that kind of sets up the decision tree. So basically anybody who understands our mission, our vision, and our loyalties to things, they can go about and make any changes to the company and its outcomes. And that's been a fantastic tool for us, because so long as they know what parameters we're playing with, where we're headed, that's kind of where we want to go. So there's always 3 questions that I ask myself in the position I'm in. That's where we're going, how we're going to get there, and what's in it for all of us. And then when you get down to it from a business perspective, it's what are we doing to increase sales? What are we doing to decrease costs? And what are we doing for staff morale? So in this particular one, I'm going to talk about where we're going, how we're going to get there, and what did it for us. So the sweet spot really is when you take your core stuff and you kind of jam it to where you want it to be, and that's where your company should be, right? So in our case, we want to bring audiences closer together. We want to attract, train, and retain the world-class talent. We want to find streamlined productions, and we want to be a part of the full life cycle of an entire film. So we did that. Thank you to OC on Night of the Apocalypse. And so on this slide, you can't see, but on the left side, it's the where, and then on the right side, it's the how. So in this case, the where is industry has moved to short form, which is inexpensive, and long form, high end, which is super expensive. And when we surmise that House of Cool plays in the high end stuff, industry has dramatically reduced the number of shows, as was said before. But what House of Cool does is we get on the development side, and in early development, we're trying to parlay that into business development opportunities. Industry has lost some really high-end studios out there. And so with WildBrain, we've decided that there's an opportunity there to create a high-level feature studio. And then industry has lost there's a pool of really high-end talent all across the world that are looking for a job, and House of Cool has access to those people because we worked with them prior to. So that's like the where. The how is on the other side, and if you see, on the slide it's not really italic, but italic and underlined, but those are just goal and objectives that we want to hit. So House of Cool and WildBrain, we can offer feature level pre-production and full production. And in order to do that, we have to assemble high-end talent. House of Cool and WildBrain can leverage long-standing relationships to assist in the future of high-end series and production. And that's a good example would be with Spin Master and the wonderful project. So thank you, I love you. WildBrain can provide stability given the company's diverse revenue streams. House of Cool and WildBrain can branch out into other industries and go directly to clients. House of Cool and WildBrain are able to co-finance, and House of Cool and WildBrain can help market films through audience engagement, as well as we can do consumer products. So that's kind of in a nutshell why Ricardo and I sold House of Cool. It's because we needed to play in a larger ecosystem. We made our first film, and it was super awesome. But the problem is we're still a small boutique studio, and we knew that we had to play in a larger pool, and that gave us this. So what's in it for us? So realistically, what's in it for us is, we've got creative satisfaction and collaboration. We can attract, retain, and work with the world-class talent. We're able to be on the inside of a film and how it gets made, and then follow it through from the revenue to second windows to the marketing to all that kind of consumer products. We provide stability at work as well as career advancements. We're able to create something larger than ourselves, which is the reason why Ricardo and I really started the company. It's really to create permanence. And our motto has always been work with the coolest people on the coolest projects. And I've always put this last because it doesn't really, if you're going to start a business, it's, at least in the creative arts, it's not necessary to make money, but money is a byproduct. And then if you are, and Drew is here, and if you're at our studio, we're big advocates of really trying to convince artists to make sure that they put money into TFSAs and RSPs and blah, 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 blah. Because the industry is fickle and you can't necessarily do all the things you want to do. So when you are making money, make sure you save a good chunk of it. And that is it. Short and sweet. All right, guys.
We are just flipping over to our remote presenters now. So Sonia Carey is up next.
Hi, everybody. And I heard you're managing my slides on that end, I think. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay, great. And you can hear me. And somebody will be advancing to the next slide. We're just going to go, just to save a little bit of time on this, and we could go to my third slide. Whoever's doing the advancing, yeah. And basically, as an individual, I think everybody's kind of curious to know how you survive in this industry. I've been employed in this industry for about 32 years, right out of college, out of university, and have never been unemployed and have never had to go on EI or anything. I've been very lucky and also very chameleon-like. And I think that's something that I've been really wanting to pass on to others in this industry. And I'm happy that you asked me to share that information. We've faced all of these, dips and dives in animation before. Those of us who came from paper, when paper got replaced by CGI, it was rapid, and it was, those of us who could adapt moved on, and some didn't. I've always looked ahead, and when things are dipping down, I'm learning something else. So the red is kind of animation going up and down, and now we're facing a little bit of AI interruption. But for my career path in the blue, you can see I'm chameleoning all the time, from artist to department head to assistant production manager. That's where I had to start learning about CGI after paper. I wasn't afraid to take those jobs. I didn't consider anything a step back, anything where I could learn and kept me moving forward was what I was interested in. I've moved on to head of production, and all the while in the pink is that thing that I always have simmering on the back burner, because you know that, this industry is very prone to change. Anything with technology, it's always changing. So keep that one thing on the back burner that you're always getting better at. And it doesn't have to do with animation. For me, it just happened to be learning Toon Boom and learning how to teach, and just my love of teaching individuals all of the little techniques and things that I've learned about Toon Boom along the way. So I started a series of workshops under the name The Animation Lounge, and it was really meant to be very chill. We make little films, and I teach people software at the same time, so project-based learning. Through the Animation Lounge, it really allowed me to get stronger and stronger as an educator and also as a Toon Boom specialist. And that allowed me to be seen by a school in California, where I am now. And that is just Toon Boom knowledge, and project-based learning curriculum was what they were interested in. So I was recruited just by my little portal, the Animation Lounge website, and showcasing all of my workshops, and also the notion that I have helped individuals get jobs in the industry through networking. If we could go to the next slide. You have to find your formula for to stay out of the path of change. And as we, are visual people, I'm always picturing this moment with Indiana Jones, where that boulder of change is always after me, the boulder of unemployment. And I've always been able to outrun that boulder with teaching myself. Education is very important. I read a lot. I read the trades. I see what's coming, so that allows me to anticipate what new software is coming, what studios are up to. Socializing is very important as well, even if it's not, your nature to socialize. This is a very sociable industry, so networking has been very important in my career. Motivation. I'm highly motivated as the primary breadwinner in my family since my kids were little, so I really could not let that boulder of change and unemployment get me. So it really made me highly motivated to keep learning and keep moving. And then building your own environment gives you some control over your income, over, nobody saying no to you, because you have built that into your own little studio that I built, which is the Animation Lounge. And if we go to the next slide, one of the things I am promoting right now with my students as well as myself is using my own artwork, but also having to embrace AI. It's something that, and again, it is something that we just say the word, but it's just technology. It's not a thing. And how it can lead to your own, what I call my solo pipeline, using my own artwork. I'm still using artists. I'm still using Toon Boom. I'm using I've chosen to use Paulo as part of my pipeline, which is an AI tool, Creative Suite. I still use designers, rigging, compositing, editing, but it allows you to work with a much smaller crew and may possibly make a feature. I'm making it one by myself, one shot at a time, but teaching my students how to not, if you're not getting jobs in big studios right now, creating smaller pipelines, if not solo pipelines, and becoming indie filmmakers, and leaning towards vertical platforms has been very lucrative for a lot of students. So that is my secret to staying employed in an industry that I love, that is always changing. So thank you. I hope that helps. And I'm handing it over, I think, to Tara.
Effects on virtual.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Well, hello everyone. I'm going to talk about stories of adapting and changing times, going back through my history, very similar to Sonia's. In fact, our paths crossed, and I'll tell you about that. So I'm the animation supervisor at Fort York VFX currently, and if you can go to the next slide, please. I find this phrase very annoying. Change is the only constant. I really hate change, but as you can see, it's defined my whole entire life and career, as it has for many of us. Where I got my start, you can go to the next slide. Sheridan College, many years ago, the year is on this ID. I grew up traveling a lot. My dad was with the CBC, so we moved provinces, Toronto to Vancouver, Newfoundland. So I got used to moving a lot, which came in handy later. I drew all the time. I was in love with animation, and I always pictured myself making a little NFB cartoon. That was kind of the pinnacle of my ambition. But instead of doing that, I went to university and I got a degree in French for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I think I thought it was very practical. But anyway, it does come in handy later in this story. I ended up going to the classical animation program at Sheridan's International Summer School, which was amazing for me. It was a perfect fit, and I absolutely loved my time there. And then next slide. Right out of second year, I got a job on Raccoons. So Canadian Kids TV gave me my start. I also got to work on a really nice half hour called The Woman Who Raised a Bear as Her Son. And I was just so happy to be drawing, getting paid. And two of my classmates and I got a chance to go right out of second year. Next slide. To London. So London, we actually went there at the very end of 1989, which was the fall of the Berlin Wall. The Gulf War was on. It was like punk rock era. We were going down to like Brixton to go to the Brick at 4 a.m. We had a really good time, but we were there to work on a specific project. Next slide. To work for Richard Williams. So he was finishing up his epic magnum opus, The Thief and the Cobbler. It was in its something like 35th year of production. And we worked 65 hours a week for a year. As you can see, a lot of pencil mileage. It was very, very exacting work. And no computers were involved. Okay, next slide. So by the end of that year, we all finished with our brains pretty scrambled, and The Thief got taken over by a Bond company and was quickly finished overseas, and then came out in boxes of cereal on DVD. He went on to, I mean, talk about being ready for change. He pivoted to making his own feature all by himself, hand-drawn film called Prologue, and then started touring his masterclass, which turned into his book, The Animator's Survival Kit, which came out in 2001 and became kind of the ubiquitous animation textbook that everyone I know owns. Okay, next slide. And from there, I got a chance to go to Berlin. So Berlin in 1993, as you can imagine, it was a period of great upheaval and construction, and there was just so much going on. So I got to work there for about a year, learned a very tiny bit of German, and then from there to Montreal, and then on to Vancouver. Next slide. So this whole time, I was doing hand-drawn animation, which was my dream, and I was very happy doing that. So when we worked in Berlin, there was a bit of overflow work. So after our contracts ended, we went back, we set up shop in Montreal and continued to freelance for the Berlin studio, which was, you know, kind of way before remote work was all done with computers. It was, you know, phones, fax machines, and FedEx. And we were really happy doing that. I did this for a number of years. So from Montreal, went to Vancouver, and I got to work for International Rocket Ship for Marv Newland, who was a big hero of mine, made a lot of really amazing shorts. And I worked on Gary Larson's Tales from the Far Side, which was one of my career highlights. And then I got to do some CD-ROMs for the US. I don't know if you remember CD-ROMs, but they were very lucrative for a time. We were paid by the drawing then. So this went on for a number of years until, next slide, please. I had Max. No, there should be a video there. So if you click it again. Yeah, and there's sound on this slide. Oh, can you go back? That's funny, not driving. So that's a video, but anyway, he's just saying hi, and that was just to be a joke. But the next slide is where we ended up. So because when Max was born, we were so far from our families in Vancouver, we decided to make our home in Toronto, and we stayed there all the way until 2016. So when we were working in Toronto, next slide, please. This corresponds exactly with Sonia Carey's trajectory, where the classical animation industry really changed and shifted. And I was still trying to work on my student film while juggling having Max. And Sonia stepped in and she was helping me get my film painted, and that project ended up getting abandoned. But I just wanted to shout out how she was so generous to offer her assistance and try to help me get my film over the finish line. And yeah, I've never forgotten it. And I owe you one, Sonia. So please reach out after if I can help you with your film. So the classical animation industry really shifted. All I really knew how to do was hand-drawn animation, but I was teaching at Centennial College and George Brown College, and I gradually taught myself CG. So I never went to school for CG animation, but of course I was teaching in that environment around students learning Maya. So I got to ask them, some questions, and they would help me out. So I learned enough to be able to get a job on Backyardigans at Elliott Animation, and did a lot of children's television, as most of us did in Toronto in those days. So Erky Perky, Rollbots, Rob the Robots, Yup Yups. These are all very fun kids shows with very fast-paced, high quota shows. And we also got to work in Flash a little bit, which wasn't really what I was expecting. It was very much like a computer-y, wasn't very much like hand-drawn animation, but that was fun to try. So Yin Yang Yo and Total Drama Island. From there, I got a job at Chuck Gamage, and I got to do some directing. So Beast Legends, I got to do some shorts there for Chuck. And then I got a job at Topics, and they got me to do realistic creatures for the first time, which required me to leave teaching, which was a big change for me because I had always balanced freelance animation with teaching, and that allowed me to have some independence to be there as Max was growing up. And so just going all in on animation was quite a big change for me, but it gave me a big opportunity. And there's some of the people in this room that I got to work with. I got a job as a lead animator at ARC. So shout out to Dan and Lakey and people in the audience today. I got to work with them on this Ice Age Easter special that was very life-changing. And then I got to be an animation director following that on DOT at Industrial Brothers. Next slide, please. So Max grew all the way up, and we got a job in Vancouver, so we changed again. So my husband and I both packed up our house, and we went off to Vancouver, and I got a job at Scanline VFX. I got to work on some pretty big movies out there: Justice League, Aquaman, The Meg, Godzilla versus King Kong. And this is a big change for somebody that wanted to work on little NFB cartoons to work on VFX tentpole features like this. It's a big, big change, but I just absolutely loved it. I've always had a fondness for monster movies, and this just really suited me to a T. From there, I got to use my leadership skills at Method, MPC, working on Detective Pikachu. Next slide, please. And in 2020, we got transferred to Quebec. So during the pandemic, when everybody moved to remote work, we seized that opportunity and we cashed in all our chips and moved to the woods. So we live in a very rural location in Laurentians, about an hour from Montreal, about halfway between our two families. And finally, my French degree pays off. So I'm using my French all the time here. And I got to be a remote animation supervisor for Rodeo Effects for several years on Taika Waititi's Time Bandits, Argyle, Heart of Stone, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and more. And then I did some animation on James Gunn's Superman and Jon Favreau's Prehistoric Planet. So you can see how all these career moves are like stepping stones leading from one to the other. Next slide. So throughout all of the industry upheaval of the last few years, I made another pivot to Fort York VFX, which is a Toronto-based studio. They hired me to be the animation supervisor on the Paramount Plus GOAT campaign. So I hope you'll start seeing these ads popping up. Sometimes they're on Yonge and Dundas Square. I saw one last time I was in Toronto. And so it's a super cute project. He does everything from playing the guitar to sitting in a hot tub. It's a really fun project to work on. So that's what I'm doing remotely now. And there's one last slide. And along the way, like Sonia, I've been developing something else, something of my own. So I started getting really serious about health and fitness, powerlifting, competing, getting certifications as a yoga teacher, nutrition coach, and personal trainer. And during a layoff last year, I started training other people, and that grew into another business. So now I have TAAFI CPT, and this project is ongoing. So to be continued. And that's my story.
Merci beaucoup, Tara. Thank you. That was great. And last but not least, in our presenters, we have Matthew Celestial.
Thank you so much. Hello. I know everyone's excited to go on break, so I'm not going to talk too much, but you might be wondering why there's a publicist standing up over here. I specialize in publicity for the animation, VFX, and interactive entertainment industries. And normally I'm usually at the back over there running all over the place and trying to make sure things are running smoothly. But I had written a paper that caught a lot of, well, I guess it caught some people's attention, and I got a lot of emails from it. And I initially had written this paper. It was initially supposed to be, I like to say, a mental health journal entry for myself, but it ended up becoming this research think tank paper filled with 250 pages of research that I had intended to really look into to help myself get back on track. Because like many people across the country, I too had been affected by the challenges that our industry had faced. A lot of my clients, as you know, I run a PR firm specializing in this industry, and I saw a lot of my clients face challenges that caused them to really pivot. And like everyone has been talking about today, I mean, I could listen to all of your stories, and I'm so interested in meeting everyone and seeing, and I see a lot of familiar faces here who have, shared their journey with me. And I say this not as someone who works in this industry, but someone who's, again, my entire business was built on this ecosystem. And I've watched many of you face those changes. Around that same time, I embarked on what was, I thought, a very ambitious project. At the beginning of 2024, I decided that I was going to launch an independent animation distribution company after years of working in publicity. My objective was simple in theory, something like G-Kids, but Canada. And I was going on this journey to distribute and champion independent animation content in our country. And like many entrepreneurs in this room, taking something from 0 to 1 is really exciting until you're doing the work. Because suddenly you're building an entire company and you're thinking about carrying the weight of that vision. You're talking to so many people and so many doors are closed on you, and you're asking yourself, is this industry supporting me the way that I want to support it? And I did find myself struggling a lot because I thought about it. By 2025, I was burnt out. I completely shut down and I paused this project. 2025 was my worst professional year after 10 years of building something incredible, building confidence in myself to be able to showcase some of the best work in this country and help people showcase their work. For me, I started to think about, what would I be doing next? I started writing, researching, asking questions, brainstorming, just to see what was around me. And I wasn't going to give up. I had concocted 250 pages of research on how to rise from the ashes, but I didn't yet. So that 250 pages became a short-lived paper titled "Canada Built a World-Class Animation Industry, Then the Business Model Collapsed." I originally pitched it to the Globe and Mail, but they said, No, we're a little too busy. So I published it on LinkedIn, and I thought it would be read by 3 people: my mother, my sister, and my best friend. And sometimes I do have my real estate agent liking all my stuff, which is kind of cool, but but a lot of people read it, and I got such incredible responses. I also got some polarizing responses too. Some people were really angry and had a couple of disagreements, but I was really excited about that because it really drummed up a lot of, visceral reactions about what the state of our industry would look like. And so what I like to sort of address in that paper is that Canada didn't lose its animation industry. We realized that we just didn't own enough of what we were building. And that when you zoom out for a moment, there's a truth that we should actually all be proud of. And that is that we have built one of the most respected animation ecosystems in the world. And so we have extraordinary artists, world-class studios, and incredible technical innovation. A lot of people in this room, I actually look up to your work and have done so for many years. But when productions slow down, we have to ask ourselves, who owns the IP? And who controls the distribution? And who captures the long-term value? It's so interesting because, listening to everyone's stories about production and all the amazing stuff that they worked on, and also the amazing access that we have to government support, my perspective comes from a perspective of distribution. How do we distribute our work? And so I presented 3 themes in my paper that are more overarching, which are ownership, because if we don't own our intellectual property, we can't capture the long-term value of the work that we're creating. And distribution, who controls that distribution? I tried to. And global export, because the real power of animation today isn't just production. We've exported our talent, sometimes south, but now it's time for us to export our content to the world. Understanding how projects find its audiences has become sort of my bread and butter, and something that I've obsessed about for many years. And so instead of abandoning building that distribution company, we'll table that for a little bit. I'm going to keep pushing to build it, but to do it with what I did best, which is publicity. So this year, my mandate is to follow that, which is ownership, distribution, and global export. How can we take all of that and move ourselves to a new era of animation for Canada? Now, many people in this room have helped shape the industry. Again, I look up to a lot of your work, and you've built it, you've led it, and you've adapted through multiple cycles. So before the break, I want to frame the conversation a little bit. The goal today isn't really to solve, a problem or this overarching problem, but it's to really give ourselves a reality check of where we are. So we came up with 4 themes today, which are 1, reality check. What's really destabilizing right now? What do you think? Where are you right now? What's unexpectedly stable? Number 2, adaptation and practice. How have you adapted? We've seen so many stories today where so many people have adapted and changed careers, shifted, moved companies, moved cities. But how are we adapting today? 3, support gaps. What support do you need? Not in theory, but really, what do you need right now to help you? And 4, collective action. Instead of looking at ourselves as individual people or companies or whatever, how can we work as an ecosystem where in the next 12 months, what can we do differently? Because ultimately, the question in front of us is really simple. Canada has already built a world-class animation industry. The next step is building a world-class animation economy. Now, are each of you ready to be part of that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. That was great. So we're going to take a 15-minute break. There's some drinks and snacks outside in the hall, but please come back because we're going to get to the most important part, and that's the part where we hear your voice. And so as Matthew mentioned, each table has a form to fill out questions, and we have a set of facilitators who have been scattered around the room and also online for the virtual breakout rooms. Can the facilitators put their hands up just so people can see? Okay, awesome. So when we come from back from break, try to spread yourselves out on the tables, make sure with people. And it won't take long, but we just want to sit down and the facilitators are going to ask those questions that Matthew mentioned, and we're going to record your feedback. And the goal is we're going to take all that feedback, share it with the different industry groups so that we can try and action and listen to that feedback. So take a well-earned break. Thanks everybody for coming out to this, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes.